Nicole Scott here from Mobile Geeks, and today I'm going to be doing a review of the Meizu M1 Note. It's got a 5.5-inch IGZO display that has absolutely no business being on a $175 smartphone. Now there is a catch, and it's not the camera. Let's get into the review. So let's start with a quick overview of the device. It's got a 5.5-inch IGZO LCD display with a resolution of 1920 by 1080. It's got a PPI of 403, and this is Gorilla Glass. Now, I've been using this for a week, and I haven't had any protection on it at all. So the fact that there's no scratches on it is pretty good. The same for the back. We have a polycarbonate kind of just white finish here. It's gotten a few scuffs on it, but I've been able to just kind of clean them off really easily, which is nice. It's got a thickness of 8.9 millimeters. It weighs in at 145 grams and has a battery size of 3,140, which is great for a 5.5-inch display. Now under the hood, it's got a MediaTek, I think it's the MT6752 at 1.7 gigahertz. Now that is an octa-core processor. This isn't something new in the mid-range smartphone. We've tested quite a few phones with this processor in it, and overall have been very happy with the performance and the battery life. It's got 2 gigs of RAM, 16 and 32 gigabyte options for storage, a dual micro SIM, which is great. You just pop that out here. So one thing that has been problematic in the design for me is that this hasn't been flush. So you can see that it's kind of sticking out there. And it's kind of getting black with dirt, and I have a really hard time getting my SIM card in and out of this device. So it took like 5 minutes to put it in. I don't know what it is about this, but it doesn't seem to be perfectly aligned or kind of made. So that's one thing that I'm kind of disappointed about, and it should be flush. I mean, just look at that, it sticks out. It's annoying. I think it's the power button, actually. Sometimes I forget it's on top, and because I can feel it and it's sticking out, I think, oh, what a crappy power button. So design-wise, they kind of made a mistake there. It should be a lot more flush, it shouldn't stick out, and it shouldn't be exactly where a power button might be if this didn't have a power button on the top. So you can see that there's a power button on the top. Taking a look around the device while I'm spinning it around, we have a 13 megapixel shooter on the back, two-tone flash here for you. There's our headphone jack right there. Around here we have the volume buttons. They are separated, which is kind of nice to see. Here on the bottom we have the speakers, and that's our micro USB. And then around this side we only have that SIM card thing that I was complaining about. So overall, I do like the design. The weighting is quite nice. It feels comfortable in your hand. The plastic, it feels plasticky, but it doesn't offend. It actually feels the curves of the phone. This is kind of classic Meizu style. They've gone for this rounded, and it does feel really good when you're holding it. All right, now I wanted to take a closer look at the display, because this is an IGZO display, and it does go a little bit white on the angles, but it's definitely usable outside. Overall, I've been really happy with the crispness of this, and for a $175 device, I don't really feel that this display should be on here. So this is one thing that if you are somebody who really values a good display, this is usually the thing that separates the mid-range devices from the high-end, but overall, this device is really knocking it out of the park. Now let me talk about the software. So this is running Flyme 4.0. Now I have been a Meizu MX4 Pro user, but I don't recall it being this crap in UI. And the reason behind that is they've gone to a single capacitive touch button here. Now the style of Flyme is no app drawer. If you like the app drawer, then you just need to get over it. There's two styles of OS, app drawer, no app drawer. Personally, you need to be a lot more organized if you don't have an app drawer, just because if you start to put things into folders, you can forget where you've put stuff, and then you can't find an app. But the reason why I'm a little bit annoyed is that they have this Smart Touch icon here. So I can move it around the screen, and I can use it to pull down the notification bar. I can use it to switch between apps. So these are all the apps that I've had open, so I'm just going back and forth between them. Now, what this means is that there's actually no way for you to pull up all the open apps. You can't see what's open and then just decide to close something or choose which app it is. You have to physically scroll through this, which is pretty annoying, and I really think that they should have like left us with a way to kind of manage our open applications. If you hold down, it just shuts the device off. So that is a real annoyance. Now the other thing that I've never really liked about Flyme is that they don't put settings in the notification bar. There's even an open spot right here. So I have no idea why they wouldn't just include the settings. Now the settings has to be one of these buttons. So one thing that I have done in the past is sometimes I've put the settings here just so I can have constant access to them. But in your quick launch bar, is settings really something that you want so front and forward? Anyways, clearly I am using this phone. Anyways, yeah, that's my little pet peeve about that, but I am going to move on. So back to this button. The long hold kind of moves it around. And you can see that here there are a bunch of different features within the phone. So you can turn multitasking on or off. Turning it on will eat up a lot more battery life. The home light, you can turn that on and on. Gesture to wake up. That's about sliding. I should really turn my Facebook chat off during this time. Sorry about that, guys. But you can see that I am actually living in this phone. So this is one of my biggest pet peeves, is that sometimes you can't figure out if you're using the back. So let me just go to Facebook and show you. So now one thing here, right? So let's just say I click on here. Now I have to use this to go back, right? But let's just say I click on this photo. Oh, I still use this to go back. Hold on. See, I click on this person. Now I have the arrow, right? So I mean, there's like, depending on the application, the way that you interact with the UI can change, right? So sometimes it gives you an arrow, sometimes it doesn't. So like visually, sometimes I would get confused as to if I'm using the arrow or if I'm using the button, because sometimes the button won't just move you around in the app. The button will take you right out of the application. So there are some UI struggles when you're dealing with this. I introduced some friends for I have a fire spinning friend and then a friend who's trying to hire her, so that's what those Facebook messages are about. Yeah, so I mean that has been my one pet peeve behind it. But overall the UI does run smoothly, no real issues with it. Like I said, I always kind of liked that you can pull this down relatively quickly. Meizu has done a really good job with the camera. Like on the MX4 Pro, their software for processing the photos is totally on point. So we have a 13 megapixel shooter, and I definitely like the UI that they've given their camera. It's very cyanogen, so you just switch across manual. So you have ISO, focal length, so you can do depth of field stuff, which is kind of nice. So if you're kind of like doing a video, you can manually set the focus as well. So let's just keep going. Beautify. Well, this guy can't get any more beautiful. Panorama, light field, so that's tapping to focus, right, and changing the brightness. Scanning for QR codes, which I think is great that they've included that by default. Slow-mo, quite good. Well, actually, the slow-mo function is so-so on this. What was that one? Sorry. And we're back to auto. So now some of the settings include photo size, video size. You can have HDR on and off. I kind of wish that they had HDR in a function, but their HDR actually here is pretty good. So let's just go back. Now let's just show you how quick the autofocus is on this. This again. All right, now let's take a look at this photo. I think that is great. For a $175 phone, I think that's really good. Now let's take a look at the real thing. Now the reds maybe are a little bit deeper. But look at the detail on that. Really phenomenal. So. Actually, let's take a look at some of the other photos. Here's some food photos. So you can see that even when you pull it in to look at things like the numbers, you can read that, and the lines are still quite sharp. This camera doesn't really belong on such a budget phone, to be honest with you. So here's a little camera sample. This is over at the National Taiwan University. So you can see that the colors are nice and bright. It handles light to dark fairly well. Oh, readjustment. So all in all, Meizu has knocked it out of the park. They've built a great device. It checks all the boxes that I need for something that would be my daily driver. Good build quality, well, except for this SIM card slot not being flush and me thinking it's the power button. Great display. IGZO display, great viewing angles, nice and bright outdoors. Solid camera, and all-day battery life. If using it lightly, I can definitely go into a second day charging it in the morning. Now, the things that really bug me about this phone, like I mentioned, this needs to be flush. The fact that the SIM card slot is not flush, a little irritating. The fact that they put the power button on the top, the phone's a little bit long for a power button on the top. And it's the software. The software is actually the thing that makes me the craziest. Now, I was an MX4 Pro user, so it's not as if I'm unfamiliar with Flyme, but they've gone with a single capacitive touch button and removed the back and the menu functionality. And so when you're navigating the phone, it's not entirely clear what the best practices are. So like we saw with the Facebook app, sometimes there's the arrow to go back and sometimes you're just using the button. Even with somebody who's really familiar with Android, you'll find yourself kind of stumbling to go, how do I go back? Because if you hit back too many times, you actually exit the app. So it's like back inside the app and back for searching around the UI. It's too much functionality for just one button. So I think that they should have given you the option to have the Android software keys on screen. I think that was a huge mistake. And the other thing that Flyme has never done is included the settings in the notification bar. You actually need an icon for that, and that just makes me absolutely crazy. I don't know why in all their iterations they haven't just put the settings button in the notification bar. Please leave a comment if you are a Flyme user and want them to do this. I have no idea why they won't do that. So, of all the things that really piss me off about the phone, if you really hate Flyme, you can always download another launcher. So, because it's Android, everything's always fixable. So, it hits all the high points that I need for something to become my daily driver, $175. Depending on where you're at, I've noticed on Amazon it may be around $200. Now, the question is going to be, if you're going to be paying $200, then should you be paying $225 for the Asus Zenfone 2? Well, that might be a topic for another video. Let me know in the comments if you'd like to see me shoot that one. Like always, please subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. It doesn't mean anything to you and it means the world to me. And if you aren't following me on Twitter, it's Nicole_Scooter. Hope to see you guys again soon.